Three, two, one.
We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Grok Talk, brought to you by New Hampshire's leading conservative blog site, GraniteGrok.com. We are your feared, extremist, right-wing, hard-charging, gun-toting, opinionated, outspoken, rabble-rousing, letter-writing, radio microphone stomping conservatives and rational libertarians. So get ready for more news and opinion you could only get from GraniteGrok.com.
Grok Talk.
Thanks again to Ed Nail for the last segment. Phil Kerpen from American Commitment joined us in the first bonus segment, 8:30 to 9, when we normally do a pre-show. But because of his schedule, we wanted to get him on the program to talk about the death tax, and that was the only time we could get him in. So we came in early, and Skip helped set up, but he had to go. He wasn't feeling very well. We're still here. Coming up, we have Mark Osborne from Derry. We have Kimberly Morin, who's going to talk with us about the Balsams bailout and probably a couple other things, because we don't actually have any other segments in which to just talk about whatever we want.
And right now we have Storm Chaser Extraordinaire, Ron Moore from Merrimack.
Ron, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. Sounds like you guys are having fun this morning.
We are. We always have fun.
I know. Isn't it great to live life that way?
It is, yeah. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, it is. Free, man. Free. I love it.
All right, so, it's gotten a little warmer. Is spring here?
No, sadly not.
No?
No, I was actually just telling you, I said my on Facebook I put out about a month ago. I actually ripped off some other people, too. I think Joe Bastardi mentioned some others that there'd be snow on the ground Easter Sunday, so I've been kind of selfishly hanging in there all week watching it stay in our subdivision here. I'm like, okay, we got enough snow on the ground. It'll be tomorrow morning. There'll be snow on the ground, but this week will be very chilly. In fact, I would not be surprised if we don't get some snow this week. I don't know if it'll stick in April, but we're definitely back in the winter season again this week.
Mm-hmm. I have some grass. I can see the grass and the mud, of course, but I have places around my house where I still have a good 2 feet of snow.
Yeah, I got a couple of snowbanks that are that big, but the snow that just sort of fell and drifted, I don't think I got anything deeper than 9 inches to a foot anymore. I got quite a bit of grass. I had a couple of notorious bald spots where leaning trees have caused the snow to be thinner, and the sun sort of wipes that out first, and then it grows.
Yeah.
So I got quite a bit of grass.
Yeah, at nighttime what I do, I go through the subdivision and I make sure it's plowed really deep and hard. They don't know it, so that it sticks around for like a month longer at the end of the season. That's what weather weenies do, man. If you love snow, you make sure it stays in the shade, stays deep, and becomes a little glacier. Kind of give Mother Nature a little help there. It's kind of sick, I know, but yeah, it'll be chilly. Today will be not bad. Yesterday was gorgeous, but we figured. And of course, yesterday with that warmth, that surge came in from the southwest, and everybody saw the tornadoes we had the last couple of days, which is totally normal for this time of the year. Mm-hmm. People down that way are usually planned and prepared for that kind of thing. So,
So how far up did the tornadoes reach, Ron?
This last outbreak we had,
mm-hmm.
I think they got into the Tennessee, Arkansas, mostly in the Ozarks, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri, Kansas, that area, right in that four-corner region, which we have actually done a lot of chasing in that area around Joplin, Missouri. And that's probably going to be your epicenter this year. It'll go out, of course, with the season, round about that into the Southern Plains and Mississippi Valley. But I really think, a lot of the good forecasters are on this stuff, too, that these surges of cool air are going to keep coming into the Northeast. If it weren't for that, we probably would have more of a severe weather season up here in May. But I got to tell you, I was just looking through, spent the last 2 hours before coming on the show here looking over some of the long-range 45-day model type thing, and it's amazing. May looks really chilly. I mean, cold. May, mid to late May, could have some 30-some to 40-degree mornings, quite a few.
So I think I heard that this year some of the long-range forecasts are calling for more tornadic year than we've had recently. Is that true?
Yeah, especially than recently, because the last three have been duds. I mean, as a chaser goes, now, as people, we all know one twister, can do all the damage you need done. But for number-wise, yeah, I was just actually sharing with some folks the other day. It's funny how perception changed that day, because in, I think, 1910, the Weather Service said Iowa had 2 twisters a year, Kansas had 4. Well, now we know Iowa has about 56, Kansas has about 100. Mm-hmm. So just based on people seeing them, makes it, obviously, cell phones and cameras and everything else. So for the last 3 years to be as low as they were was really remarkable. I mean, especially when you got the Moore clan out there, us out here getting anything and everything. We don't find anything still. You know, we're looking for anything that's spinning on the ground. So for the folks out that way, it's been good. But yeah, I think you're going to see, as you said, some of the long-range forecasters picking up on that, and they're almost all consistent. That from now to the end of May, you know, sporadically we're going to have some big outbreaks.
Now, last year, I know that Joe Bastardi and Joe DeLeo had some early predictions about a pretty decent hurricane season compared to what we'd had in previous years, but that never really panned out. Is it possible that could happen with tornadoes?
Yeah. Well, and actually, I think this year, again, looking at the patterns, and tornadoes are, you know, they come from a western trough. You look at the jet stream, and anybody who looks at the weather map, the weather channel, they use a pretty decent job of that too, showing that western trough dipping in. When you see that, you know you've got a Plains and Mississippi Valley outbreaks coming in. So that's setting up for the next 2 weeks. For New England, it's really different. It's hard to, well, one thing, it's hard to get them up here, but we do get them, and we do get some pretty bad ones. But I think that from here, like I said, to the end of May, you're going to see about a 6 or 7 week period of really active weather. And I think on my Facebook page, the storm warning, I think I actually put in there a forecast that it would be right about now, Easter week. The last week of April would be pretty active, and that a good chunk of May, and especially the last 2 weeks, would really be active. I'll throw this out there, too. There's what they call, and I didn't come up with this, it's called the LRC. It's a 45, you guys may know about it, the 45 to 50-day cycle. That whatever's happening right now, you can look for that general pattern 45 to 48 days out, and that's really working well this year. So that would tell us.
What drives that, Ron? Is that some sort of global circulation pattern, some oscillation somewhere?
It is. It's recurring cycles. Exactly what it is. It's global circulation patterns. You can look at it gets into a rhythm. The atmosphere does. Then it breaks down every fall. It goes into another repetitive pattern, which is why I've told everybody for years. I said you have very short-term 45-day cycle. You have a few-year cycle. You have a 40-year cycle. Then you have they go up to a 100-year cycle to a 1,000-year cycle. And I don't know that in our modern day we've seen them all come on top of each other, but if they ever did, you get into some pretty big stuff. This winter was a showcase, I think, of what a 1 to 200-year cycle. I've heard people say a 1 in 2,000. It's not that dramatic, but it's what we had this winter was colonial day type stuff, you know.
I was talking to Dr. Joe last fall, and he was talking about we were talking about those cycles lining up with the with the decreased solar activity and a bunch of other things piling up, and people talking, and it was really beginning to stir discussion about another Maunder minimum.
Yeah, yes, and it's really been funny since I've listened to Jody, which I have for many years, but really more closely studied his stuff on sunspots. That's just been the last 2 years. I went back and looked at his work on that really quality work. And he's right. That's not my specialty, but you're exactly right. That lends to this thing really going into something that's really dramatic. And sadly, as we all know, if you're always going to climate change, global warming, whatever they want to call it, whatever the new name is for it, it takes away so badly from what we're really facing, like a winter like this one when no one was ready for snow and cold, and it hits again. It's really a hardship on the people. Which is why I tell folks, I say, we really got to look at weather as a science, not as a religion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, then there's danger signs out there that we're not done with ice ages. I mean, the mini ice age is less than 200 years ago, and we were climbing out of it in the first part of the 20th century, which is why that warming trend that they're talking about was really a recovery trend.
You nailed it, yeah.
And more to the point, there was some excellent work done, and I wrote about this a year or so ago on cosmic rays and solar wind and solar cycles. And if it turns out that if we're still within one of the spiral arms of the galaxy and the cosmic ray activity is high and the sun goes into a sleepy spell, you get more cosmic rays equals more cloud equals colder Earth equals mini ice age, or maybe not so many.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And and again, I heard yesterday bad economic numbers for the wintertime because of the cold and snow, which couldn't have been predicted. Well, that's what they said last year. Well, we've been telling them that if it gets cold and snowy, it impacts everything. You don't want a colder climate. Actually, like you said, a warmer climate is actually what brings back economic boom and all the above. So, so people, got to be ready for this. And I know the next winter they're already looking for the same thing. I know Weather Bell, not to give them a shameless plug, but they have been saying that the next winter is going to be a very similar one. And so people should be getting ready for that stuff. But yeah, the hurricane season you mentioned, I do agree. That is what I did study at Florida State, and I do think the Gulf Coast is threatened for obvious reasons. The Gulf temperatures are just searing right now. It's it's like a bath down there. I remember we lived in Tallahassee for a number of years, and the water, you go down there and lay in the water. I don't know if you've ever been to the Florida Panhandle, but in that area, the water doesn't stir much. It can be 91-degree water temperature.
Wow.
I've never been able to get my outdoor pool that warm. You know, I used to have an above-ground pool in a previous house. I had a solar blanket on it, and if you worked really hard, you might get the water up to 75, 80 degrees, but it never 90.
Really? 91's not comfortable. I'm telling you, it's almost, it's hot. And that's why I say this year, the water, my friends down there tell me it's just really, really warm in the waters in the Gulf of Mexico. You get a storm, and you probably have an early season. I mean, June can crank them up if the conditions are right down there. And with a very weak El Nino coming on, you know, that can actually give the spin it's needed in the Gulf of Mexico, and boom, they start cranking out.
So here's a contrast. If the water's that warm, and people who don't understand what warm and cold water do to weather should probably spend some time at Weather Bell or do a little research, because it's pretty damn important. But it sounds like we're going to have a really short growing season this year up here, in contrast to what's going to go down there.
Yeah, I would agree. And that's where your variability occurs in agriculture. You know, seasons shift back and forth, and it's what makes the North so hard to do certain crops up here, because I actually know a few friends of mine that do that up here, and it's amazing learning the difference between New England and, say, Georgia and Alabama. Of course, we all know North and South, but like you said, the Gulf has such an influence as opposed to Newfoundland, how that affects us up here in Nova Scotia, still getting the winds off those areas. If we get any east winds this year in the Northeast, I heard yesterday was that Eastport, Maine still has 70 inches on the ground. I mean, my Lord. Get a northeast wind all summer, man. We've got an air conditioning blowing on us. So
I called a shop up there last month. They have a local author that we wanted to get signed copies, and I said, sorry, the store's closed right now. It's snowing again. And I said, we got about 6.5 feet down here. He said, look, we got over 12.
And they're not used to that. So about, well, Eastport, Maine, no, they're not the snow capital. It's usually Caribou. So Eastport, I think they're double what they usually get, or maybe higher than that even. It's just extreme out that way.
They were buried. And
they really were.
They're little narrow streets, too. They don't have that many places to shove it unless they push it straight down to the harbor.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it makes a world of difference.
So are we going to be able to get any plants in the ground before June or July?
Again, the people I know in agriculture, they ask me, I tell them, I say, hey, go to somebody that you pay service for. I don't want to mess your business up. But I'm like, it's scary because we're going to have freezes this week, which that's not that unusual. I mean, it does do that up here. In fact, I've got these books that show it's snowing on July 3rd across most of New England. That's back in the 1800s. I'm like, that's ridiculous. But it does happen. And this, I think, is going to be one of those really short growing years, yeah. And thank God we have other places, not California, because apparently they can't grow anything. There's no water left out there, so,
Well, there'd be a lot more water left if they didn't just dump it all into San Francisco Bay to keep those little delta smelts going.
Yeah, I wasn't even going to go there. You're exactly right. There's so much policy behind, Mother Nature and God get blamed for so much, and it's policy that drives so much of this junk. So much of these things just to get broken down. We actually have the watershed in North Florida has been affected. The people moving in there, and there's been a big fight of the Chattahoochee watershed in Georgia and Alabama. And folks down there don't realize, they think it's the weather that's caused it. It was policy. In those three states, they can't get nothing done together. So you're stopping water, you're letting it go. We've got to work on the policy end of these things, and things will be a whole lot easier on us.
All right, we got about a minute.
You know what they need to do is set an agreed price per acre foot. And then all of them pay the same price, and then you'll see who can be efficient.
There you go. Yeah, level the playing field here. Exactly.
All right, we got about a minute. Plug your book and your Facebook page again, and any last comments?
Sweet. Facebook page is the Storm Warnings, the best place to go get it. The other is at Amazon is the book Storm Warriors, Saving a King, and that's pretty fun. It's for kids, generally like 7 to 11 years of age. It's a true story, but it's a fun adventure. The other thing I'd say is that we'll be out storm chasing in late May, spending at least 2 weeks out in the Great Plains this year. And while we're out there, we'll probably be chatting with you guys. Maybe even if you guys want to have us in on that Saturday, we can tell people what's been going on or whatever.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Just to let you know where we're at, what we saw that week. So that should be a lot of fun. And, all that's good. And happy Easter, Resurrection Sunday to everyone out there.
All right,
and
you too.
For having us. Enjoyed it.
All right, thank you, sir. Have a good weekend.
Great. You do the same thing. Hey, stay warm.
All righty, bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye.
All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back.